Hello everyone and welcome to the Butt Fumble Sports Show on this Wednesday. I hope your work week is going well. I hope your day is going well. I hope life is going well. We've got some great sports action ahead of us this evening. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, MLB games. Obviously a lot to talk about across the sports world. The Pacers give away Game 1 in Boston. Some people would say the Celtics won it. Others would say the Pacers gave it away. We'll talk about that if you guys want to. I know a lot of you guys are more focused on the action tonight as Ant, Cat, Rudy Gobert, and the Timberwolves host against Kyrie and Luka Doncic and the Mavericks as that Western Conference Finals series gets underway. And in a bit of news that just broke earlier today, that'll be on TNT. Get ready for no more NBA on TNT. This is going to be upcoming, the final season of the NBA on TNT, as NBC has put together a multi-billion-dollar offer to the NBA to buy the rights to the NBA along with ESPN. So for a lot of you out there who love to see Inside the NBA with Ernie Johnson, Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet Smith, and Shaq, we are now in just one of the final, this is the second to last Western or Eastern Conference Finals, Conference Finals tournaments series that we will have with this broadcast crew. So if you're a fan of sports media, changing times across these landscapes, we'll talk about that if you guys want to as well. NHL, Panthers, Rangers, dropping puck tonight. We already have a pick on the board from yesterday. We'll obviously do our research around that game. MLB, as mentioned before, for a lot of teams, it's a getaway day, final day of a series. For others, they're finishing up. Are there going to be some crazy sweeps? Are the Mariners going to sweep the Yankees? What are some other matchups that we care about? We're going to cover everything across the sports world. So hopefully you guys are with us for the entirety of the show. No matter where you're watching on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, we are so grateful to have you on no matter what platform it is. It's just wonderful to be able to talk sports with you guys. If you are new to the show, make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. That way you know every time we go live. Of course, we are on Instagram Live now as well. So it's not just TikTok and YouTube, Twitch, Kick. Instagram Live is another platform that we're on. We're going to do our research today. So let's get started, everybody. What do you guys want to focus on? J Chap M is the first one that's going to be asking a question, and he's asking about the Wolves to cover the spread. -4 is what we're looking at right now. So let's just dive into this game a little bit. Western Conference Finals tips off 8:30 p.m. this evening, as mentioned a moment ago, on TNT. Mavericks coming into this game, 4.5-point underdogs where I currently see it on Outlier. We'll break down what are some of the different positions you can take on it. Right now, as to the total tickets being bet on this game, 86% of the tickets are on the Timberwolves to win, 86% of the money. So the market's lining up what the public thinks, where the money is currently being bet. The same is not being said about the same cannot be said about the spread. 75% of the public tickets are on the Timberwolves to cover the spread. 80% of the money is actually on the Timberwolves to cover the spread. So Minnesota getting a little bit more love from the money side. Right now, the total over-under for this game is set at 206.5. Right now, the over's getting a lot of love from both the public and from the money. Not surprised by that. We'll break down some trends and stats right now. If you guys are watching on TikTok or Instagram and want to see the research that we're about to do live on our screen, jump on over to YouTube. You get the full experience there. Otherwise, you can just treat this like a podcast and just listen along. We're going to punch in right now. How have the Mavericks done thus far on the road as an underdog when they've had, let's say, at least 2 days of rest? Just taking a look at how they've done over the course of the season, they're 1-3 straight up, 1-3 against the spread. The one win that they had under this scenario was October 30th. So literally as early in the year as you could possibly get. Now we're looking at a May 22nd game. They're a 4.5-point underdog. Now in all 4 previous games, they weren't an underdog by this margin. I'm just kind of curious, when they have been an underdog so far this year, and the spread is at least 3.5, How have the Mavericks performed so far? 4-9 straight up, 7-6 against the spread. They have won back-to-back games under this scenario. Both of those came against the Thunder. Now let's just take a quick look as well. When they've had a rest that's at least 2 games or more, and they've had a spread of that size, first time this year that's been the case. So again, just going through some of the different trends, scenarios that we could possibly think about. Let's flip it over to the Timberwolves side. Really quick, as a home favorite, when they've had at least 3 days of rest, how have they performed so far this year? 2-2 straight up. Oh, it's 2 days of rest. Thus far this year, the Timberwolves are 8-2 straight up when they're a home favorite with at least 2 days of rest. They are 5-5 against the spread, so kind of something to take note of there. The fact that they're better straight up under the scenario they play in tonight than they are against the spread. Another trend that stands out: the under. The under is 8-2 when the Timberwolves are a home favorite with at least 2 days of rest, as they are tonight. Let's drill into that a little bit more. When they've had a total of 207, let's say less than 210. A total less than 210 so far this year when they're a home favorite. Straight up 3-2, against the spread 2-3, over unders 3-2. There's not much we can really take from that. Now the Mavericks haven't had a total this low that often. Great to see you, Pluex. The Mavericks haven't had a total that low at all this year. This will be the first time. When it comes to the total for tonight, 220. Mavericks are 2-1, but again, that's just about the series that they had with the Thunder. Really quick, how have the Mavericks done against the Timberwolves thus far this season? Mavericks are 1-3 straight up, 2-2 against the spread. Over under 3-0-1, favoring the under. So just little things that were taken away. Now, the total scoring in those games has been around 119, but the Mavericks have been largely outscored 116-103 if we combine the scores from the previous 4 matchups. Specifically, when these two teams have met in Minnesota, Mavericks are 0-2. If we continue to kind of push back on that data, let's say since 2022, 1-3 under that scenario. Again, but back up in Minnesota, the under is 3-0-1 when they've played in Minnesota since 2002. How about since 2021? Under remains a good play. Straight up, they're 1-5. So really, over the last few years, the Mavericks have struggled. Now, again, that's data that doesn't include Kyrie, but it's just really speaking to the Mavericks have just 1 win over the last 6 meetings in Minnesota against the Timberwolves. For this game, based on the trends that I've just looked at, I am going to take the Timberwolves on the money line. Last night, we took the Celtics on the money line. We'll talk about that in a moment. There's a lesson I actually want to call out for all of you sports bettors. But I am liking the Timberwolves on the money line, being a little chalky here, liking the favorite in Game 1. I like the fact that they're coming off some rest. They're not really banged up from that Nuggets series as much as they could have been. That said, as for the total in this one, really tricky. The over feels like the better play, but frankly, all the trends are favoring the under. So I'm not going to touch this one. If you told me that this game was played around 203, 205, I'd believe you. If you told me it was up to 220, I believe you as well. I'm just not going to buy into this one right now. I don't think there's as much value in the total because I think 207 is very well priced or a market that's well set. Something I really do want to call out, the over-unders, the against the spreads, the Vegas is amazing. During the playoffs, those are hitting right around 50% of the time each side. It is so hard to be able to predict night in, night out how each one's going to go. It's almost a coin flip. Money line is obviously easier, but even that has its tricks to it. So that said, if you don't have high conviction on something, better to maybe stay away. And this is one where I can see both sides. I can talk myself into the over. I can talk myself into the under. If you want to follow trends, you follow the under. If you want to follow where the money's coming down on the market, I would go with the over. But for the reason that I'm kind of split, I'm not going to touch that one. Really quick, I just want to share a very, very short story with you guys because it happened to me last night and it may happen to you guys as sports bettors. I am not a professional sports bettor. I'm a professional producer of sports content. I've worked at various sports media companies. I love producing content. I love talking fantasy sports. And because of the roles I've been in, I've researched a lot about sports. And that's where a lot of you guys see where this comes from. However, I never want to give you guys the impression that I can somehow retire and go live in Vegas and bet for a living. I can't. And an example of that was last night. Because I was so heavily loaded on the Celtics winning. I had them in so many 2-leg parlays, 3-leg parlays. Just the Celtics to win. Nothing other than that in terms of the game. I did have the over. Doesn't matter. I didn't have it in a lot of parlays. The Celtics money line, that was the stump that was going to hold up the rest of the parlay tree. And I got nervous. And I forgot a crucial lesson that I want to remind all of our viewers about, all of the sports bettors out there about, which is it's sports betting. Make sure you love the sports part. Make sure you're enjoying the sports part. The making money part, it's never going to satisfy. It's never going to fulfill you. The sports part is the better of the two. And last night, I got caught up a little bit in the betting part, and I made a stupid decision. I was so heavily loaded on the Celtics that with a few minutes left in the game, I was nervous, and I went, I feel like the Pacers are going to win. Things are just going in the Pacers' direction. They keep hitting these like buzzer beater shots at the end of a quarter. I feel like they're going to win this game, and I'm too heavily loaded on the Celtics. I'm going to hedge. I'm going to put a multi-unit bet down on the Pacers to win because I'm nervous that the trends we studied, everything I had prepared during the day, I just don't have confidence in it in the final moments of the game. And then Jaylen Brown hits the 3. The market goes away. You can't sell that Pacers winning bet anymore. And all of a sudden, my NBA night goes from what should have been very profitable to literally a wash. Now, I didn't lose anything because it was a hedge bet, but the greater point was, let sports be sports sometimes. I know we always want to be chasing the next bet. We always want to be preparing ourselves for overcoming a loss. But sometimes it's really great when you place your bet and then you put your phone to the side and you forget about it and you can just watch sports. You can just watch Jaylen Brown pull off one of the most clutch shots that the Celtics have had over the last how many decades. It has been a long time since the Celtics have had that kind of shot in that kind of moment in the Garden, whatever, even on the road. It was awesome. It's what makes sports wonderful. And while I love sports betting, I love talking about sports with all of you guys across all of our platforms, wherever you watch us. I want to make sure you know, Butt Fumble Sports was not created because we love betting. It's because we love sports. And I want to make sure you guys hear that because I love talking sports with you guys and I make mistakes on the betting side all the time. And if I don't show you guys the scars and if I don't tell you guys the war stories, you may get the false impression that I'm shooting 1,000, that I'm always getting it right, that I'm always, no. And last night I got victimized by not following my own rules, by not doing in-game bets when I get nervous, and I didn't let sports just be sports. And I wanted to share that story with you guys because I know we've all been there. If you're a real sports bettor, you have absolutely been there where you have a bet on the line, you get a little nervous, you put money down on the other side, maybe to hedge, and all of a sudden a miracle happens and what you originally thought worked out did work out and you didn't come away a winner. This is just an example I wanted to share with you guys. I know I'm going on this. I know you guys care about your bets for this evening and fantasy sports for this evening, but I wanted to make sure I shared that story with you guys so you absolutely know what's going on behind the scenes and get a sense of what it's like being on this side of the Butt Fumble Sports screen. Okay, now that we're done with that long-winded story, let's get back to our work, everybody. Panthers Rangers over 5.5 was a bet that we made last night. Something that we really like for this evening. Panthers Rangers over 5.5. We did that research yesterday. Let's get into some of the questions that you guys like for today's action. We're going to jump on over to YouTube. Thanks, Kyle Klein. I appreciate you. Philip Monk has a couple of baseball questions, as does JP. JP's got a quick question on Marlins and Brewers. Run in the first inning on that one. I think it's a coin flip. It's actually one that I would tend to avoid. It could go either way. I don't feel confident in it, JP. There are other games I'd probably go with when it comes to no run in the first inning that would be far better. I want to give you one since I know you're going to ask for it. The Rockies and the A's. I could see the Rockies and the A's no run in the first inning. I could see Mariners and Yankees, but I'm a little nervous about it. Weather's kind of nice in New York. I feel like the ball could fly a little bit, so a little nervous on that. Yeah, those are the two that really stand out. Philip Monk is asking about Braves and Cubs. Let's do some research on Braves and Cubs, everybody. Again, we're going to give out picks throughout the course of the show. We're going to give out player prop bet research. So if you guys are waiting on a question, forgive me for just sharing that story from last night. We'll get into some work now. Braves are coming off a loss yesterday. When they're coming off a loss so far this season, they're 11-6 straight up. When they're coming off a loss and they're on the road this season, for only 4-3 straight up, they've actually lost 3 of their last 4 games under this scenario. The unders also hit consistently under that scenario. I don't have the same fears about them this afternoon, though, or this evening, rather, because they do have a good starter on the mound, and that's Max Fried. Max Fried, the southpaw for the Atlanta Braves. The Braves are 6-3 in his start so far this year. Kind of interesting, though. Again, 1-3 in his last 4 starts, but those 4 starts came against the Mariners, Dodgers, and the Padres. At least the 3 losses did. The under's been a very strong play in Max Fried's starts so far this year. The under has gone 6-3 in his starts. Again, weather for this Braves and Cubs game, much like yesterday, is going to be favoring a little bit of, you would think, an increase in home runs. Maybe not necessarily in runs overall. The over-under on runs for this game, is 8.5. Let's dive into the other side of things on this one. Just look at it from the Cubs' perspective. Cubs coming off a win when they're at home. 8-7 straight up. They've lost 4 straight games. Coming off a win at home, they're 6-9 against the spread. How have they done so far this year against left-handed opposing pitchers who are left-handed? Max Fried, for example, 4-5 straight up, 3-6 on the run line. When they've been at home against the southpaw, they are 3-1. Not saying that means too much. I'm just looking for some data, seeing what matters. Now, they have Justin Steele on the mound, another left-handed pitcher. How have they done when a left-handed pitcher has started? 12-7 straight up, but they've actually won just 2 of their last 6 games when they've had a left-handed pitcher on the mound. Let's just talk about the Braves. How have they done against left-handed starting pitchers so far this year? Again, I'm not saying every trend matters. We're just trying to find some kind of assimilation in the trends, some kind of pattern in the trends. So the Braves are 9-4 straight up against against left-handed pitchers, and actually they've done very well since about mid-April. Since April 12th, they've won 2, 4, 6, 8 games with just 1 loss over their last 9 against a left-handed starting pitcher. Really strong there. How about when they faced a left-handed pitcher on the road? Interestingly enough, all but one of the losses they've had against the left-handed starting pitcher did come on the road. Under's been a very good streak against left-handed pitchers on the road. They have hit the under in 6 straight games against the left-handed pitcher when they have faced them on the road. Maybe the under's a good play on this one. I'm not going to touch it just because the weather in Chicago, I'm kind of on the fence about. It's not going to be as offensive friendly as it was yesterday, though the under still managed to hit yesterday. With that said, feels like the under might be a better trend on this. Really quick before we wrap up the take on it, let's look at Justin Steele, that left-handed starting pitcher for the Cubs. So far this year, here we finally get a trend that really stands out. Justin Steele, 0-4 straight up. Cubs are 0-4 straight up in his starts, 1-3 on the run line. The over-under is 3-1. I finally have a pick for this one. I am going to take the Braves on the money line. Braves on the money line is going to be the first MLB pick that we put on the big board. Thus far, we have 3 picks on the big board. Panthers, Rangers, over 5.5 goals. Timberwolves on the money line, and the Braves on the money line. Again, for those guys out, for all you out there, we give away our picks for free every day. Just DM me on Instagram if you want to see the picks and the research that we do live on our screen. Just go on over to YouTube. You can watch every pick and everything that we're talking about as I do it live. Speaking of which, I do want to pull up the money in the market for this Braves game. Just seeing where the money's coming down, where the public's betting this one. Thus far, 77% of the tickets are on the Braves to win. 75% of the money is on the Braves to win. As for the spread, again, market and money are heavily favoring the Braves in about the mid-90s. The money is also favoring the over. So again, I'm not going to touch the over-under. The Justin Steele favoring the over in his starts kind of has me a little bit cautious. Thus far this year, opponents are averaging around 6.2 runs when Justin Steele starts. So not crazy about that. That's why I'm avoiding the over-under on this one. But that said, I do like Braves on the money line. That's going to be the first MLB pick we got. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are loving the show. Brett Naffs, Wolves and Mavs on the spread. Yeah, I wasn't seeing anything that really got me excited about the spread play. I'm actually going to avoid the spread, I think. And part of the reason for that, and I kind of learned my lesson from this last night, is this really is a feel-out game. So as much as we want to take regular season data for these two teams and really apply it, I feel like we're going to learn a lot tonight in the spread. I'm not going to touch it. I like the Timberwolves on the money line. I feel good about them winning game one, but I think I'm going to be a bit cautious about the spread. Getting burned last night was probably the biggest reason behind that. What site do you use to find trends? Great question. We use a couple different websites. One is called Outlier. Outlier is a sports betting research app. It does require a subscription. If you DM me, I can give you a free 7-day trial. I think it's worth the subscription, obviously. I think it's got a good return on the investment, given how many sports bets will be well informed. But that's up to you. But I use that every day, Outlier. The other website that we use is free. You guys can use it. You can play along with us at home. You can do research on your own. It's called killersports.com, KILLER sports.com. All it requires is kind of the knowledge on how to build the formula to pull the data. Think of it as a giant Excel spreadsheet with sports data. You just need to know how to plug in the formula and the equation to draw out the variables that you want to focus on and try to get the best conclusions and analysis possible. That's why we do it live on the show, to give you guys a sense of how to go about the process. Maybe there are some trends or variables that you guys care about that we don't, or you want to do things on your own. Go for it. We want you to be well-informed sports fans. We don't think what we're doing is exclusive. We just hope we're the most entertaining version of it for you guys out there watching on social media. But other than that, we want you guys to just be good, smart sports bettors, fantasy sports players, and sports fans. So killersports.com, you could check that one out for free. We're going to use that one out a lot because that's how I really like to go through some of the things that I care about every day. The other thing that we're going to talk about, but I'm not going to share on my screen if you are watching on YouTube, Twitch, or Kick, is called ballparkpal.com. That does require a subscription. It used to be free. They got wise this year and they started charging for it. They don't sponsor the show, so therefore I'm not going to promote it on the air the same way, but I do use it. The way ballparkpal.com works is they run thousands of simulations based on data that they're plugging in about every baseball game every single day. They have a basketball version for it. I think their baseball version is much better. But that said, it's a really good website, really good tool. Again, you got to pay for it. They charge. They're not a part of our thing. So anyways, if you want to give it a try, ballparkpal.com. Highly recommend it, but that's up to you guys. That said, if you guys have more questions, let's get to work. Phillies on the money line. Let's take a look at the Phillies on the money line, everybody, and let's see if that's a good play for this evening. Phillies, by the way, are arguably the best team in the National League, but I want everybody to pump the brakes. If I can just give a quick sports take, it is May, everybody. I love baseball. I love watching baseball every single day. I love betting on baseball every single day, but we shouldn't crown anybody in May. So much can happen between now and the end of the season. Injuries, trades, players get hot, things change. Phillies are hot, but way too many people are telling me the Phillies are going to the World Series. I think things are going really well for the Phillies, but they've also played a lot of subpar competition. Let's see how they do when they play some of the better teams across baseball. Now, this is actually a good example. They're catching the Rangers at a time when the Rangers are just not playing well. Rangers are continuing to fail when it comes to playing good ball. Whatever it is, maybe it's the World Series slump, I don't know. But once again, the Phillies are the favorite tonight. And not only are the tickets coming down on the Phillies, 84% of the public tickets are being bet on the Phillies to win. 90% of the money is on the Phillies to win as well. The spread, both money and market, 96% is on the Phillies to win. The over is getting a little bit more love. Over-under for this game is set at 9.5. Looking at ballparkpal.com, one thing we always check every day is the weather across these different ballparks. Great thing, weather is promoting runs in that Phillies and Rangers game. Likelihood of home runs up 26%, likelihood of runs up 13%. If you remember from yesterday, I told you I thought either Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper would hit a home run in that game. Bryce Harper hit a home run. Kyle Schwarber had a pretty good game as well. That is a game where we could expect some offense. We're absolutely going to look at some player prop bets after this. But let's finish up looking at this game to see if we like the Phillies or the Rangers. Looking at the Rangers right now, last game of a series when they've lost the previous two. So far this year, is it the last game of a series or do they have one more? They may have one more. They have one more, forgive me. So when they have lost the previous two games, though, the Rangers are 4-4 straight up, 4-4 on the run line. Interestingly enough, the under has been a very good trend when the Rangers are coming off back-to-back losses. The under is 6-1-1. So I mentioned the weather. I tend to kind of favor the weather, but we'll keep our eye on these trends as well. How about when they're coming off back-to-back losses and they're on the road? Thus far this year, only happened 3 times. They're 2-1 both straight up and and on the run line. How about when the Rangers are just away dogs so far this year? Rangers 6-7 straight up, 6-7 on the run line. Thanks, John. Great to see you, John. Appreciate you, buddy. By the way, don't forget, John, over 5.5 is what we like for that Rangers and Panthers game. That's where I'm going right now. Don't have a good feeling on the money line, though. I feel like that's going to be a really wonky series, so don't know quite yet. Not sure that home ice advantage is going to hold up for the Rangers. One thing to note, when the Texas Rangers, I was just talking about the New York Rangers, when the Texas Rangers are away dogs, they are just 1-4 over their last 5 games. Those 5 games have come against the Braves, Royals, and now the Phillies. So actually some good competition as well. They're going up against a right-handed starter tonight. When they have faced a right-handed starter as an away underdog so far this year, they're 5-5 straight up, 5-5 on the run line. Not too much we can take from this, just kind of looking for some extra data. Now let's flip it over to the Phillies. How have the Phillies done? They've been a juggernaut. Everybody knows that. Thus far, as a home favorite so far this year, Phillies are 19-6 straight up. They've won 4 straight games as a home favorite, 5 of their last 6. They have been absolutely dominant so far this year, really since about mid-April, April 15th. Since April 15th, they have just 2 losses as a home favorite, specifically when they go up against an opposing pitcher who's a right-handed starting pitcher. They are 14-3 at home so far this year, and they just, again, have 1 loss since April 15th. So it's kind of hard to bet against them straight up at home as a favorite when they're facing a right-handed starter. I do want to call out the 2 starting pitchers in this game just to see if there's any reason to not believe in the Phillies. Taijuan Walker, first pitcher that I want to look at. He's going to be on the mound for the Phillies so far this year. Interesting to note, we mentioned the weather is going to be encouraging offense. Taijuan Walker has made 4 starts this year for the Phillies. The over is 4-0. So we're building a bit of a case here for the over. Just making note of it right now. Dane Dunning is on the mound for the Texas Rangers. How has he performed so far this season? When he's been on the mound, when Dane Dunning has been on the mound for the Rangers are actually 5-2 straight up, 4-3 on the run line. Wow. Tough. Okay, we've kind of made our case now. Dane Dunning has made 4 starts on the road this year. Rangers are 4-0 straight up. They're 4-0 on the run line. The over is 4-0. So these two pitchers have combined for 8 starts. The over is 8-0. Combine that with the fact that the weather in Philadelphia is favoring the over as well. I feel like that's where we're coming down. Now, right now, total runs for this game is set at 10 runs. That is high. I'm seeing it at 9.5 right now on Outlier. This opened at 9.5, went up to 10, went up to 10.5, came back down to 9.5. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it at 9, over 9. Right now is minus 155. You could get it at over 8.5 at an even better spot, obviously. What I'll do, and this is what I tend to do, is if you see my predictions on the big board right now, I put a little asterisk, a little caret up top, so you guys know it's a parlay play. So what I would do for this is I would take Rangers and Phillies over 9, and I would take the over 8.5 as a parlay play, a leg of a parlay. Now, if we like offense in this game, I am going to avoid the money line and the spread on this. If I had to go anywhere right now, I'd probably take Phillies on the money line, Rangers +2. Really quick, I just want to see what the Rangers +2 is available at. Not a good spot. So it'd be Rangers +1.5. Dane Dunning being 4-0 straight up, 4-0 on the run line. I feel like the Rangers, coming off back-to-back losses, feel like they're going to bounce back, but Phillies have been so hot, so I'm kind of splitting the difference here. I'm not going to bet that, so you guys know. I'm going to bet the over. I do like the over a whole lot more, so that's where I come down on it. Now, if we like, obviously, the over, means we like some offense in that game as well. So let's look at some player prop bets involving that game really quick. We're just going to start by looking at hits. I'm using Outlier for this. When it comes to player prop bets, Outlier is the absolute best in doing research really quickly. Now, I want to see how the Phillies have done against Dane Dunning in their career. Brandon Marsh. Look, I recommended Brandon Marsh yesterday to get a hit. He didn't get a hit. He got 2 walks. He scored a run. He was an offensive threat. He just didn't get a hit. I kind of like that, actually. I think I would double down on it. This is one in which if you go bust on blackjack on the previous hand, you might want to double down. The cards may be more in your favor, and I believe that. Brandon Marsh, 11 at-bats lifetime against Dane Dunning. He has a .545 average lifetime. No home runs, only 1 RBI, low strikeout rate at 18.2, and against right-handed pitching so far this year, Brandon Marsh is hitting .288. So love seeing both against the starting pitcher and against right-handed pitchers this year. He's performed well. Over half a hit is available at minus 204. Now he has only 1 hit in the series, he doesn't have a hit in the series so far this year. He went hitless yesterday and didn't play in the first game. At home, he does have a hit in 7 of his last 10 games against a right-handed starter. A hit in 8 of his last 10 games against a righty. This is actually a trend I really like. In his last 20 games against a right-handed starter at home, he has not gone back-to-back days without a hit. He's missed it 3 times, this being the 3rd time. I like Brandon Marsh over half a hit. I know I gave that out yesterday. I'm doubling down on it, though. I do like Brandon Marsh over half a hit. I'm not done looking at that game, though. Again, given that we like offense in that one, kind of interested to see how some of the other big hitters may perform. Really quick, let's take a look at Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper, over half a hit, is obviously available as well. Against Dane Dunning in his career, no at-bats. Kyle Schwarber is 2 for 4 against Dane Dunning, but he's performed poorly against righties. I was hoping for Bryce Harper hitting .276, obviously 8 home runs against righties. Was kind of looking to that a little bit more. He has a hit in 8 of his last 10 games overall. Against right-handed starters, he has a hit in 7 of his last 10 games, specifically at home. Same thing. So, no data against Dane Dunning. If you wanted to take Bryce Harper, I'd understand. Over half a hit, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs is actually not available at a really great spot. Most markets are making it 2.5. So again, Bryce Harper may not be available for many of you just because the market's not really there. Let's flip it over and let's look at the Rangers side of things. And specifically, Nathaniel Lowe is where I'm going to start. He has a hit in just 5 of his last 10 games overall, but in back-to-back games against Taijuan Walker, never faced him. But against right-handed pitchers so far this year, he's hitting .293. Against right-handed pitching, he has a hit in 7 of his last 10 games, really 7 of his last 8. So I'd put him on the board as well. Nathaniel Lowe over half a hit. Again, this may be a same-game parlay for a number of you guys out there. That's for you to determine. You guys may often ask, what's your favorite bet, or do you have a perfect parlay? I'm just giving out the picks that I like, but I don't want to give you guys a level of confidence that doesn't actually match what we're going with. Jonathan, if you want to go Bryce Harper, I totally understand. The data doesn't match it as well as I would like, but I do think Bryce Harper could perform as well. What about the NHL? Nick, I like Panthers and Rangers over 5.5. Panthers and Rangers over 5.5. Kyle Klein. Oh, you're asking about the daily vitamin with the White Sox? Let's take a quick look at that White Sox game. The Chicago White Sox got a win yesterday. We've been mocking them throughout the season, saying your daily vitamin every day is to bet against the Chicago White Sox. But they've actually been performing a little bit better over the last couple of weeks. We actually haven't been giving them out as a bet as frequently. We did yesterday, which burned us. But let's take a look at the White Sox today. White Sox, when they are coming off a win the previous game, and they are on the road, thus far this year, they are 1-5. So we're certainly considering taking our vitamin today. The only win that they had was against the Cardinals, and they had a much better pitcher on the mound, frankly. So let's take a look after a win when they face a right-handed starter in the following day. They are 5-4. Really interesting to note, actually. In the last 6 games that the White Sox have played, coming off a win when they face a right-handed starter the following day, they're actually 5-1. Kind of interesting there. That does stand out to me. White Sox are performing a little bit better. Meanwhile, Blue Jays, they have been maybe the biggest disappointment across baseball. You can certainly make that argument. They are a home favorite today. How have they performed as a home favorite coming off a loss in the previous day's game? They're only 5-4 straight up, 5-4 on the run line. They've actually won just 2 of their last 5 games under this scenario. Under's been a much better play in this case. The under has gone 6-3. Speaking of the under's done slightly better for the when the White Sox have played a right-handed starter after a win. I do want to note, again, White Sox coming off a win when they face a right-handed starter, 7-2 on the run line. 7-2 on the run line. Just making note of that because the White Sox might once again be a good cover play. But let's dive into it a little bit deeper. How about when the Blue Jays for this evening's game, they're facing a right-handed starter. How have they done against righties so far this year? 18-19 straight up, 19-18 overall. The under's been a slightly better play. How about when they faced a righty starter at home? 9-9 straight up, 8-10 on the run line, 7-10. Just nothing we can really take from there. Chris Bassett's going to be on the mound for the Blue Jays. How have they done in his starts? Blue Jays so far this year, 3-6 straight up, 3-6 on the run line with him. Ugly. What I would also say is they're just 1-4 in his last 5 starts. Yuck. Wow. Under's also gone 5-3-1. The White Sox starting pitcher, Nick Nastrini. Forgive me if I'm getting that one wrong. Nick Nastrini has made 2 starts this year. They're 0-2. They're 0-2 on the run line when he starts. I really don't want to bet this one. This feels like a trap. I would probably say Blue Jays on the money line, but frankly, that run line for the White Sox of late and over the course of the year kind of stands out to me. I don't think there's value in this. I think the value is more to take the White Sox in a cover play than there is with the Blue Jays, though I think the Blue Jays actually win. So I bring up this game because you ask about it. But again, I'm kind of gonna bob and weave this one. This doesn't feel like a great bet, just given some of the value that's out there in the rest of the market. What about Rockies on the money line? Gustavo throwing in a question. Let's take a look at Rockies and Athletics. First of all, let's take a look at the market. Right now, 80% of the public tickets are on the A's to win, but you'll be happy to know 36% of the money is actually on the Rockies to win. So the money's coming down a bit more on the Rockies. Maybe that's because of the value that they possess, but certainly something that stands out. However, on the spread, the market, the money is favoring the A's a little bit more. 64% of tickets are on the A's. 74% of money is on the A's. The over, 99% of the money and the tickets are on the over. Over 8 is getting a lot of love. Let's dive into some of the trends on this game. Let's take a look at the Rockies. Rockies. Let's make sure we're spelling everything in the equation correctly. Rockies are coming off a loss yesterday. So far this season, coming off a loss, they're 9-22 when they are coming off a loss on the road. 3-15. Yikes. So certainly something that stands out so far this year. Just 3-15 on the road after a loss. They have a left-handed starter on the mound tonight, Austin Gomber. They are 1-4 straight up, 1-4 on the run line when they have a left-handed starter pitching for them after a loss on the road. Pitching after a loss when they have a left-handed starter on the mound, I'm just curious about this. 3-7 straight up. They've actually lost their last 2, 4. They've lost their last 6 games in a row when they've put a left-handed starter on the mound when they've lost the previous day's game. Flipping it around really quick, we'll go back to the Rockies in a moment. How have the Athletics done coming off a win so far this year at home? Athletics, after a win at home this year, 6-5 straight up. They had a nice little winning streak going there at the end of April into kind of the early stretch of May where they won 5 in a row under this scenario, but they've lost their last 2. Specifically, though, how have the A's done against left-handed starting pitchers this year? The A's, when they faced a left-handed starter, are 5-9 straight up, 6-8 on the run line. The under is 10-4. They've lost their last 3 games against left-handed starters. But those were against the Rangers, Astros, and Royals. And again, that included Cole Reagans, Framber Valdez, and Andrew Heaney. Much better starters than Austin Gomber. I would note that the under has been a phenomenal trend. 10-4 when the Athletics faced a left-handed starter, but it's even better than that. Since April 22nd, the under is 2, 4, 6, 8-0. The under is 8-0 when the Athletics have faced a left-handed starter, regardless of home, regardless of away, regardless of everything else. Specifically, if I were to look at the left-handed starter when they face them at home, interestingly enough, 3-3 straight up, 3-3 on the run line. The over/under favors the under 4-2 just slightly. How about when they're a favorite? Not very often the A's have been a favorite this year. How have the Athletics done when they are a favorite so far this year? 6-1 straight up. Athletics are 6-1 straight up. Now we're starting to get a bit of a picture that I'd like to go with. I'll probably land on the Athletics for this one, and here's the reason why. You combine how the Athletics have done when they're a favorite with the Rockies' performance when they've been on the road after a loss. They have a left-handed starter on the mound. Everything's kind of pointing in the direction of the Oakland A's. I'll take the A's on the money line on this one. Do I have a high conviction level on it? Not as high as I would probably like, but high enough to put it on the big board. I'll take Athletics on the money line on this one. Athletics on the money line. I understand that the market may be moving a bit in the Rockies' favor. I understand why. There's some value there. But I actually feel like the trends are telling us the Athletics do pretty well under this scenario. Andy, we decided we were going to avoid Wolves and Mavs over-under in part because we saw trends that favored the under, but the point total in those games was far superior to the 206.5. We could have seen it going either way. The trends were saying the under, the money was saying the over, and frankly, the total scoring from what we were studying also suggested the over, so it felt like a bit of a trap, so we decided to avoid the total play tonight. Anyone we'd like getting a hit for this A's game? Let's take a look at it. Now, the one thing I would say is the fact that we're even considering the under is reason for you to maybe not be betting this game. I think the under is actually a pretty good play. Ballparkpal.com, the game that features the least likelihood of offense based on the weather is this Rockies and A's game. So again, this might be a good underplay. Athletics on the money line is the one I put on the board. But Oakland Athletics against the Rockies, the under could be a very good play. So I'm going to look at a really quick, maybe players that we would potentially take to get a hit. Austin Gomber, no experience against, no one really has numbers against him. The A's, only Toro. Toro has a 358 average against left-handed starting pitchers, so that may be someone I'd consider taking. Abraham Toro, over half a hit is available. He has a hit in 5 straight games, 8 of his last 10 games. Against a left-handed starter, he has a hit in 8 of his last 10 games, specifically at home. He has a hit against a left-handed starting pitcher in 7 of the 8 games that he's played this year against the left-handed starter. Additionally, he has a hit in 6 straight games. That actually is one that I would put on the board. It would be a same-game parlay. It would be Abraham, Toro, over half a hit. But it would be a same-game parlay, most likely. Really quick, the value on that is only minus 240 on FanDuel, minus 260 on ESPN Bet, 274 on Caesars, 275 on BetMGM, 285 on DraftKings. So outside of a parlay, really doesn't make a lot of sense. I am going to put this one up on the board, though. Rockies and Athletics feels like the under. Feels like the under just based on what the trends we looked at and the weather that we looked at. I know the money's favoring the over. I'm going to take the under. This opened at 8.5. It went down to 8, went down to 7.5. It's climbed back up. I feel like that's because people are reading this one wrong. I'm going to take the under on this. I'm going to take the under 9. I really want to take the under 9.5, to be honest. I'm going to put under 9.5 on the board because that's what I really want, but it's probably a parlay. So what I would say is maybe do a same-game parlay. Rockies, Athletics, under 9.5. Maybe pair that with Toro to get the hit. But I feel like the 9.5 is important. I don't feel like we get to 10 runs. Do we get to 9? Probably not. I feel like 9's probably safe, but I don't want to have the push. Chandler, let's do a quick recap for all of those that are watching across Instagram Live, TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. Here's a quick recap of all the picks we've given out during the show. In the NHL, for the Eastern Conference Final, we have the Panthers and the Rangers going over 5.5 goals. For the NBA, we're taking the Timberwolves on the money line. We're not taking a side or a total on that. We're just taking Timberwolves on the money line. For baseball, so far in game picks, we have Braves on the money line, Athletics on the money line. We're also taking Rockies, Athletics under 9.5, and we're taking Rangers and Phillies over 9, over 8.5 if you want to put it into a parlay. I would also take Brandon Marsh over half a hit, Nathaniel Lau, I always forget what it is, over half a hit, and Abraham Toro over half a hit. So those are the picks that we have up on the big board so far. Appreciate you guys watching the show. Hope you guys are loving the content. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time we go live. I love talking sports with you guys. If you want every bet that I make every single day, just DM me on Instagram. I give away my picks for free. I don't care if you're a big sports bettor or if you just want to follow along, learn a little bit, see if I'm getting it right, see if I'm getting it wrong as you're watching the show. Make sure you DM me on Instagram. It's up to you which ones you bet, but obviously I'm doing my research every day to try to find the best bets. We usually hit on individual picks at around a 67% rate. When it comes to parlays, we are at around a 55% clip. That's the problem when you do parlays. They're not as good. But I would be mindful of the fact that our individual bets are usually really strong. Chase Green, what do you think about Diamondbacks and Dodgers over/under? One thing I would note about that game in terms of the weather, it's kind of blah. It's kind of in the middle. So I don't think weather is going to play a major factor in that one. Let's take a look at what the total is giving us out. Set at 8. Money's coming down heavily on the over. Obviously also coming down on the Dodgers. Good reason for that, but we'll talk about that in a second. Dodgers are actually going to make the big board, but you'll see why. Diamondbacks, they're coming off a loss yesterday. Sorry. No, they're coming off a win. Sorry. Diamondbacks got that win yesterday. Diamondbacks are 7-15 when they're coming off a win. 7-15 on the run line as well. The under slightly better. When they are on the road coming off a win, the under has been a better play. Under is 6-2-1 when the Diamondbacks are coming off a win on the road. Now they're facing Tyler Glasnow tonight, and Tyler Glasnow might have been one of the best off-season moves across baseball. He has been an absolute stud. Really not surprised. I thought that was a steal by the Dodgers. Dodgers have been 7-3 in his start so far this year, 6-4 straight up. They've actually lost his last 2 starts, and what I'm kind of curious about is he's a pretty heavy favorite tonight when the line has been at least 300 in his starts. I'm going to date this one back in the entirety of his career. Interestingly enough, he has made 3 starts in his career when the line has been 300 or more. He's 1-2 straight up, 1-2 on the run line. The over-under is 2-1. I was kind of curious about that there because there's been a lot of data around the fact that he's a very good pitcher as a favorite. So when he's had a line of minus 200, he's 19-3. But what's really interesting is when the total is minus 300, 2 of those losses came under that scenario. Kind of interesting. We just study data, everybody. We just look at trends. And that piece of data was kind of an interesting one there. Not what we expected. We expected Tyler Glasnow to be a great heavy favorite pitcher. Not the case. How about Ryan Nelson? How has Ryan Nelson been so far this year for the Arizona Diamondbacks? Ryan Nelson's made 7 starts. Diamondbacks are 2-5 in his starts so far this year. Specifically on the road, Ryan Nelson is 0-3 straight up. The under has gone 2-1. So once again, the Dodgers look like a pretty good play. Dodgers coming off a loss as a home favorite the following day are only 6-5 so far this year. Over's been a very strong play actually. Over 7-3-1 when the Dodgers are coming off a loss as a home favorite. When that's the case and they're facing a right-handed starter, 4-2 straight up, 4-2 on the run line, 4-2 towards the over. How about when they start a right-handed pitcher? 5-5 straight up. Man, this got tricky all of a sudden. I think the Dodgers are going to win, but the data isn't supporting it nearly as much as it should. And this is what I would say. Normally, I would say take the Dodgers. But you know what? On the money line right now, they're minus 290. There's no value there. So even though I think the Dodgers probably win, there's actually no value to this one. Now, if you think the Dodgers are going to win by 2 runs or more, but I don't have enough confidence in that, so kind of an interesting one. Mark over on Instagram Live thinks the Dodgers will cover the 1.5 run line. I don't have the same level of confidence, but Mark, you'll have to tune back in tomorrow and give me shit when you get it right. Mikey, Panthers, Rangers, if you had to lean. If I had to lean, really quick, let's dive into this one, everybody. I don't really want to lean. I want to know. I want to do some research behind it. Let's talk about the market first. Right now, the market is favoring our over 5.5. 82% of the market, the tickets are on the over. 88% of the money is on the over. As for where the money's coming down, it's favoring the Rangers a little bit. Bizarrely, the Panthers are the favorite in this game. It's really even. Panthers minus 105, Rangers even money. One of the reasons I'm not betting this game unless we find some good trends. I don't feel great about it. But right now, the money's coming down on the Rangers. 65% of the tickets, 63% of the money on the Rangers to win. When it comes to the goal line, 90% of the tickets are on the Rangers. 74% of the money is on the Rangers as well. Let's do some quick research, everybody, and dive into some of these trends around the Rangers and the Panthers. Something that we talked about yesterday is when the Panthers have gone to Madison Square Garden and faced the Rangers over the last few years. Just pulling that one back up. Panthers, Rangers, when these two teams have played in New York, the over is 2-0. And one of the things that we talked about yesterday is if I kind of push that back to, say, 2021, these two teams have played 5 games against each other in Madison Square Garden. The over is 5-0. So for those that were kind of Curious about how we came to that. That was one of the things we looked at yesterday. Interestingly enough, the Rangers have gone 4-1 in the last 5 meetings between these two teams in New York. So if you want to build a case for the Rangers, money's coming down on the Rangers. The history between the two teams when they play in New York favors the Rangers, so that would at least be a starting point. Now, if we're going to isolate kind of how these two teams have done so far this year, Panthers are obviously coming off a few days of rest. When they have had at least 3 days of rest, they're 5-3 straight up. The under's been slightly better at 5-3, but not enough for me to get spooked. How about the Rangers, coming off at least 3 days of rest as well? Rangers are 6-1 straight up on at least 3 days of rest. Their only loss came on the road against the Capitals. So on 3 days of rest or more at home, they are 5-0. We are building a really good case for the Rangers on the money line so far. Anything else we want to look at? How about when the Rangers are coming off a win and they're facing a team with a winning record? Are they susceptible maybe to something like that? Coming off a win, 22-9, specifically at home so far this year, 10-3. They've won their last 4. The over has gone 9-4 and hit in the last 5 games. I'll put this one up on the board because now I'm starting to believe it. I'm going to take Rangers on the money line, everybody. I'm getting talked into it really by the trends that we're looking at. So I'm taking the over 5.5 goals, and I'm taking Rangers on the money line. Those are 2 bets that I am going with for tonight's NHL game. Dawson, we are going to avoid the spread. I don't have enough confidence in either side, so I'm not going to touch it. Mendoza, Dodgers, Phillies. It's interesting because both of those games, what we really saw is there were some trends that had us a bit nervous. I know those are 2 heavy favorites that you're kind of marrying together for the parlay. I certainly hope it works out for you, given that that's a kind of heavy parlay. Any no-run in the first inning plays that I was thinking about? I was thinking about the Rockies and the Oakland Athletics no-run in the first inning. That would be one that I would have my eye on. Mavs, Wolves, player prop bets. Someone's asking for them, so we got to give them up. If you guys are looking for them, here we go. Let's take a look at some player prop bets for the NBA Western Conference Finals that tips off tonight. The way we go about this usually is I go onto Outlier, and I'm looking across different position matchups, which ones are favorable. So in this case, the Dallas Mavericks, which position is kind of favorable towards certain points, rebounds, or assists. The shooting guard position does have a rebound advantage, but there isn't a lot of value across that. A lot of people are trying to be about Kyrie Irving on points. Let's take a look at Kyrie Irving's point total. Now, he's facing the number 4 defense against point guards when it comes to overall points. His point total right now is set at 21.5. This opened at 19.5, went up to 20.5, went up to 21.5. So the market continues to climb. Head-to-head against the Timberwolves, he has hit over 21.5 points in his last 2 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He actually had 35 points in both games, 36 and 35. Now, over his last 20 games, he's gone over this point total 13 times over the last 20, specifically on the road, 12 of his last 20, but it's missed in his last 4 games. Now, he's on 3 days of rest. When Kyrie Irving is on 3 days of rest or more and he's on the road, he has actually gone over 21.5 points in 10 of those 12 games. The 2 times he missed were against Utah on New Year's Day this year. He had 14 points, and in his last game on the road against the Thunder on May 7th, this was on 3 days of rest. I would buy this down. Kyrie Irving over 19.5 points. Put that into a parlay with something else. I will take Kyrie Irving reaching 20 points over 19.5 points. It is a parlay play because the odds are not as good. But Kyrie Irving over 19.5 points. There's a reason this market moved. It opened at 19.5. That was the right spot to take it. It's moved up to 21.5. I don't like it as much there. But at 19.5, putting it in a same game parlay, I think that's a good play. Let's flip things over. Let's take a look at Anthony Edwards, everybody. Anthony Edwards, let's take a look at his point total. He hasn't gone over 27.5 points very consistently. against this Timberwolves team hasn't been consistent either. So one thing I definitely want to call out is the fact that Anthony Edwards on his point total is actually not a great play. It's not one that I'm particularly excited about. Could I see it hitting? Yes, but it's a very coin flip of a bet. So just because we like one star in one area doesn't mean we like them all in that area. What I would say is the shooting guard position is a favorable play in terms of points against the Dallas Mavericks. That's why we're taking a look at it. But 27.5 feels high. I feel like if you want to do a same game parlay, it's Anthony Edwards over like a 24.5 points, pairing that with Kyrie over 19.5 points. So you think Ant gets 25, Kyrie gets 20, put that into a same game parlay. I think that's the way to play it. I could also see adding the adding the Timberwolves on the money line, putting that into the parlay as well. But that's how I'd kind of mix and match those few bets together. Really quick, let's do a bit more research on some of the other plays that we may like for this game. Luka Doncic, how has he done head-to-head against this team? He's been consistently scoring over 30 points when he's gone against the Timberwolves. His last 3 games against the Timberwolves, he reached at least 33 points. On the road, though, 0-2. All 3 of those games came at home in his last... came at home. His last 2 games on the road in Minnesota, the most points he scored was 25. Kind of interesting there. In his last 20 road games, though, 15 of his last 20 road games, he did score 28.5 points at least. How about when he's had 3 days of rest? Actually, 4 of his last 6. Nothing we really could take from this. As much as I want to say look towards Luka, I feel like that point total is just a little bit too high. If I would take Luka, again, it would be around a 26.5 point total. I feel like that's a slightly better play. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are loving the content, loving the show. If you love sports, make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time I go live, because I'm with you guys almost every single day, talking sports and seeing what you guys care about. Can you look at Timberwolves stats, win-loss, first game of a series? Jennifer is asking for a very specific question. Jennifer is one of our faves. So let's take a look. Jennifer, can you look at Timberwolves win-loss on first game of a series? So we're going to look Timberwolves and game series, or series game 1. I don't know if we can actually pull that off the way that you want. I don't know if they have that. I know you can, Jennifer. I just don't know how to build that equation. It's not the same as baseball. It's something different. That's the one trick, like I said, about killersports.com, is you kind of need to know how to build out the equation to know what you're looking for. And unfortunately, Jennifer, I don't quite know how to do that for basketball. I know there's a way to do it because I've seen others, but I don't know myself. So Jennifer, forgive me for lacking that knowledge. If you are watching on Instagram Live, feel free to write your question. Here to help with your bets. Here to help you guys in any way. Some people are asking about points for Cat. Let's take a look at Karl Anthony Towns and see if we like his point total. Right now, his point total is set at 19.5. This opened at 20.5 and has since come down. Head-to-head against these Dallas Mavericks, he has hit this over in 3 of his last 4 games, specifically at home. Only 1 of 2, though. At home in his last 20 games, he's only gone over this total 4 times in his last 20 games. Again, 4 times in his last 20 games at home has he hit 20 points. When he has at least 3 days of rest, only 2 of his last 7, there's a reason this market came down. I understand that the matchup might see him get a bit more offense than it would have against a Jokic, but frankly, I don't have enough confidence in this one. It hasn't been a good trend against this opponent. It hasn't been a very good trend at home. It hasn't been a very good trend when he has a lot of rest. So frankly, if I had to go in any direction, I might even lean towards the under, but I'm not going to touch this one overall. Just feels like a bit of a trap. So again, in home games, he has only gone over 19.5 points in 4 of his last 20 home games. The last time Karl Anthony Towns had 20 points in a home game was February 24th against the Brooklyn Nets. So it's been a minute, everybody. It's Colin Smith. Jazz Chisholm over half a base seems like a nice lock. Let's take a look at that. We'll flip on over to baseball over here, and we'll take out Jazz Chisholm. And you're looking for over half a base, is what you're saying? Total bases, over half a base. He has gotten to over half a base in 7 of his last 10 games. At home, 7 of his last 10 games. He's going up against Freddie Peralta. In his career, just 1 hit in 4 at-bats against Peralta. Against right-handed pitching, he does have a hit or has gotten on base in 5 of his last 6 games. Head-to-head against the Brewers, he actually has only gotten on base in 1 of his last 4 games at home against the Brewers. Only 2 of his last 7. So it's not as much of a lock, Colin. I think he probably, against a right hand, I think he could get on base, but my whole point is it's not as much of a lock, actually, just based on the data that we just looked at. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are loving the content, loving the show. Make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time we go live. Again, just want to make sure that you guys know we are going to be live at 4:30 again tomorrow. During weekdays, we're usually live around 4:30, 5 o'clock on Instagram Live, TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. If you guys ever want to hit me up for my picks, DM me on Instagram. I give away my picks for free every day on the SHARPZ app, so all you guys need to do is DM me on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports is the name of my company and my handle on Instagram. I give away my picks for free. You guys can follow them. You can fade them. It's entirely up to you. But I want to make sure that you guys know I will never charge you for a pick. They're never behind a paywall. I love when you guys follow because I love building this amazing community of sports fans. But obviously, I never think you guys should pay for picks unless it is from a true Vegas expert, and I am certainly not. I'm just a rabid sports fan who loves studying sports, sports data, data analytics, and everything else. Nino Clark, real quick recap of the picks we've put on the board so far today. We have Panthers, Rangers over 5.5 goals, and Rangers on the money line. We have Timberwolves on the money line. We also like Kyrie Irving over 19.5 points. I'd also consider Anthony Edwards reaching 25 points, but I'm on the fence about it. For baseball, I take Braves on the money line, Athletics on the money line as well, though obviously in that Rockies and Athletics game, we're also recommending the under 9.5 in Rockies Athletics, under 9 as well. Rangers Phillies, we'd go over 9, over 8.5. We're also liking Brandon Marsh over half a hit, Nathaniel Lowe over half a hit, and Abraham Toro over half a hit. Let's get some more hit plays up here really quick. We're just going to do a rapid fire through some of our favorite matchups and opportunities. What we're looking for is this kind of situation. Jurkensen Profar. He only has 5 at-bats lifetime against Nick Martinez, but he does have 3 hits in those 5 at-bats. Against right-handed pitching this year, Jurkensen Profar is hitting .344. He has a great hit streak going right now. He has a hit in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 straight games, and he has a hit in 17 of his last 20 games against right-handed pitching. He has a hit in 13 of his last 20 games, 5 straight games. I put Jurkensen Profar up on my board as well for over half a hit. Jurkensen Profar, over half a hit. Again, the odds aren't great on it, so you'd put it into a parlay, a round robin with some of the other bets that we like for this evening. Let's do another one of these. Let's jump on over. Again, first things I want to do actually, what are some games that have some weather that should be very advantageous when it comes to scoring? We just mentioned the Padres and the Reds. Definitely feel like there should be scoring in this, even though there wasn't a lot yesterday. Padres. Anyone else hit right-handed pitching really well? Cronenworth does. Cronenworth does have decent numbers. He's 1 for 2 lifetime. Let's take a look at Cronenworth. Nick Cronenworth, the Crone Zone, as they know him in San Diego. Over 1.5 hits is what's available for this evening's game. How about over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs? It's not available. It's only available on Underdog. Not as good a bet as I would like. Never mind. Let's go to another game. Let's take a look at the White Sox and the Blue Jays. White Sox, Blue Jays. Any value to any of our bets here? Lifetime against Chris Bassett. Andrew Benintendi, 4 for 5 lifetime with a home run against right-handed pitching this year, only hitting .217. Andrew Benintendi, over half a hit, minus .225 against right-handed pitching. Only 5 of his last 10 games on the road. No. We don't want to do that. I don't feel good enough about that. No one's faced the right-handed pitcher for the White Sox so far this year. But against right-handed pitching so far this year, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is hitting .280. Let's take a quick look at Vlad Guerrero Jr. to see if there's value there. Over 1.5 hits is what he's available at. It's not what I want. I want over half a hit. That's not available in most markets. How about over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs? Again, not available in most markets. It's set at 2. I really don't want the 2.5. Hasn't been a very good trend. At home against right-handed starters, over 1.5 would be phenomenal if you can get Vlad Guerrero Jr. Maybe we should take it over half an RBI. Not as good a trend, not what I want, but you could consider it. Over 1.5 bases, but I feel like Vlad Guerrero Jr. over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. That's the bet that we want. The market just knows it and is making it pretty hard. Someone's asking about Brewers on the run line, everybody. Brewers on the run line is the next question that we're getting. That's Freddie Peralta against Jesus Luzardo. Pretty good starting pitching matchup, actually, in South Florida this evening. This game starts at 6:40. Money is coming down in the same place as the tickets. 74% of the tickets are on the Brewers to win. 75% of the money is on the Brewers to win. As for the run line, heavily favoring the Brewers, 95% of the tickets, 98% of the money. The over 7 getting 98% of tickets, 97% of money. Let's go do some research on the trends behind this game to see if there's anything that really stands out and points us in the right direction for our bets. Really quick, we're going to start with the Brewers. Brewers coming off a win. Last game of a series. Is it the last game of a series tonight? It is. So far this year, after a win on the last game of a series, Brewers are 6-5 straight up, 6-5 on the run line. Over is 7-4. How about when that scenario is on the road like tonight? 4-3 straight up, 4-3 on the run line. The over is 5-2. So the over getting a bit of love here. How about the Marlins? Marlins, when they are coming off a loss and they are a home dog like they are this evening. So far this year, Marlins are 4-3 straight up, 5-2 on the run line. Over is 4-3. The over is actually 4-1 in the last 5 games under this scenario. How have the Marlins done against a right-handed starter so far this year? Specifically at home, Marlins are 8-8. The over is 12-4. Over continues to make a good argument for this game. How about the Brewers against the left-handed starter when they're on the road? Against Southpaws so far this season, Milwaukee on the road is 3-3 straight up. Finally found something that doesn't encourage the over. The under is 5-1 when the Brewers face a left-handed starter on the road. Disappointed by that. That does include 2 games against the Marlins, but in those 2 games, they did hit the over. It was yesterday. That is the one time they have hit the over under that scenario. Let's get to some of the 2 starting pitchers in this matchup and see if either one of them can provide some clues as to the bets we should make. First starting pitcher we're going to look at is Freddie Peralta. So far this year, Brewers are 7-2 when Freddie Peralta takes the mound. Over is 6-3. You know we like both of those trends. How about the other side? Jesus Luzardo, when he's been on the mound, Marlins are 2-5 straight up, 2-5 on the run line. The over's 4-3. How are we betting this game? We are going to take the Brewers on the money line. Brewers on the money line is the next bet that we're going to put up on the big board. But I'm not just going Brewers on the money line, everybody. I like that over. Other than that one trend, everything was pointing towards the over. I'll take Brewers, I'll take Marlins, and I'll take the over. I can get this over, I think at 7 at a good spot. Really quick, let's take a look at it. Over 7 is available at minus 110. I can get this over 6.5. I can get this over 6 at minus 175. I'll take over 6. I'll take over 6.5. Those are two plays that I like. Again, it may be a parlay play for some of you, but frankly, I love the fact that the market's giving that to me and the trends are pointing in that direction. So, those are a few more bets that we've put up on the board. Hope you guys have been enjoying the show. If you guys miss any of the picks that we've given out, no worries. We give them away all for free. Just DM me on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports. DM me on Instagram to get every single bet that I make every day, regardless of the sport, the type of bet, where we are every day. We're giving away our picks for free. So if you love the content, love the show, make sure you follow. Make sure you're with us every time we go live. We're usually live around 4:30 every weekday, and on the weekends we're usually live around 11 a.m., 11:30. That way we can get in some day baseball and some day playoff action. That said, I'm going to do a recap of all the picks we've given out so far. We have Panthers-Rangers over 5.5. Panthers-Rangers over 5.5. We have Rangers on the money line. We have Timberwolves on the money line. We have Kyrie Irving over 19.5 points. That would be put into a same-game parlay. For baseball, we have Braves on the money line. We have Brewers on the money line. We also like Brewers and Marlins over 6.5 runs, over 6. Anything over 6 we like. For some of those worse odds, put that into a parlay. We like the Athletics on the money line. We like Rockies and Athletics under 9, under 9.5. We like Rangers and Phillies over 9, over even 8.5 there, over that number. For players we like to get a hit tonight, we've got Brandon Marsh over half a hit, Nathaniel Lowe over half a hit, Abraham Toro over half a hit, and Jerkinson Profar over half a hit. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are going to be with us every single time that we jump on Instagram Live, TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. It is awesome being with you guys every single day. I've got to run off to a dinner right now. I hope you guys have loved the content, loved the show. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us tomorrow because we'll do it all again. Again, if you want all of the bets I just gave out and more that I didn't share because we didn't have time, DM me on Instagram. I give them away for free every single day because I'm a sports fan just like you. I want us to be on the same team. That's Team Cashing Tickets. Can't wait to do it again tomorrow. Stay healthy, stay safe, and enjoy an awesome night of sports. NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, and MLB. Boy, life is amazing. Enjoy it while you can. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.